All right. As Kevin reminds us before the show starts, and this is obvious that we talk about this all the time in terms of fall camp, that there's limited concrete information and firsthand observation. It's more or less what these guys, um, meaning Tony, Kevin, Steve. I think Steve's ready to roll as well. Um, what they know about the team, which is extensive, and then they put that together with all the various interviews that they get, plus just having insider information to a certain extent. They put all that together to kind of put 2 + 2 + 1 + 7 over here into something. But that being said, you guys had mentioned to me before we went live, running backs, offensive line, Jim Knowles were three of the um, interview targets over the past week. Uh, Tony, I'll start with you in regards to anything that you gathered that you consider meaningful.
I think the most meaningful maybe was yesterday talking to Jim Knowles and the linebackers, where he said, we've been thinking it was probably Steele Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg as the two starters because that's what the way the season ended, and they had kind of played well at that point. He reiterated that those two have taken over and they've taken command of those two positions. Tommy Eichenberg at middle linebacker and Steele Chambers at the will. And then behind them, you've got Cody Simon and Taraji Mitchell and, Paula and Ote is in there, Chip Trainum, CJ Hicks, and others. But those two have really solidified themselves as the leaders there, and they're doing well. I said Tommy Eichenberg rarely makes a mistake. When he does, he knows why. And Steele Chambers is, funnily enough, like his confidence is what has set him apart from the guys behind him, the guys who are competing with him. And this is a guy who's been a linebacker for a year now, but he's striving hard to master Jim Knowles' defense. And those two guys are, everything seems good right there. As we know, this defense needs to do better against the run. Those two guys will help, but the defensive line will ultimately set the tone. But I think those two answered a question right away for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the linebacker group was very good to talk to yesterday. And Jim Knowles kind of gave us more meat on the bone probably yesterday than we'll have out of every other interview session that we get the entire time. I thought it was very interesting. He mentioned CJ Hicks up front as a true freshman. Might be in the two deep already at linebacker, if not pushing really hard for it. But yeah, Tommy Eichenberg and Steele Chambers are the top two in that group right now, and then it just kind of goes down from there. So that was good. Offensive line, it was a lot of what you would expect the day before. Pretty much the first five is set and solidified, and then you've got Enoch Vamahi and Josh Fryer, who are kind of right there behind those first five. And then they're really hoping that some other guys will emerge beyond that to fill out a full two deep. Jacob James playing some at center behind Luke Whippler as well, but need to develop the depth at those offensive line positions. Running back, it sounds like they've got three really good ones with Travion Henderson, Evan Pryor, and Mayan Williams. Each of them kind of different in their own aspect. They talk about Pryor as a guy that maybe could come out of the backfield and catch some passes. Henderson, kind of your every down back. Mayan Williams, maybe your short yardage back or your fourth quarterback when you're trying fourth quarter running back when you're trying to put a game away in the fourth quarter. You might put him in there to get those tough 4 or 5 yards and move the sticks. So I think you got a lot of good options there. So far what we've heard has been pretty good. Not a lot on the injury front, other than Jim Knowles talked about how they are a little bit banged up at the cornerback position. There seems to be some uneasiness there. Jordan Hancock, who was supposed to be a key backup or at least push Cameron Brown for a starting job there, may be banged up right now. So we don't know what the health situation is there. Beyond that, maybe repping some safeties over there. Cameron Martinez kind of a utility guy, burning for a place to play. Maybe he can get in there at safety some. I think there was another one or two guys as well that they had repped over there. But on the whole, it sounds like so far things have gone pretty well. But when you get into full pads like they are right now, you can pretty much count on one guy a day, going out, for 1 day, 2 days, a week, a month, a year. You just don't know. But every day somebody else is going to turn up in a yellow injury jersey, and that's just the way it is when you're going full pads and you're hitting. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think you guys have kind of hit all the points there, so I'll just be short there and say it's good to have football back, and it'll be interesting to what comes out of the scrimmages and some news from there. But we're going to get the chance to talk to Ryan Day tomorrow on Thursday the 11th, and I'm not expecting him to share a ton of information at that point, but we'll all be shaking the trees to see what we can kind of find out.
Yeah. One other thing on the offensive line, Zen Mahalski looks like he's wrapped up that backup left tackle job. He's got some freshmen behind him, which means that he should win it. I talked to him about it. He's taken ownership of that spot. So I think they've got their 8 that they like. I have a question of, as Steve was talking about Jacob James, I have a question of whether he would come in or Matt Jones would just slide over if they had an issue with Luke Whippler. But I think they're feeling better about their offensive line. Practice on Thursday, Big Ten Network will be there. So that's the Big Ten Network days. So you guys can look for that later in the afternoon, early evening to watch their coverage, which may mean we may get to see more practice than our normal 4 periods, which is about 35 minutes or so of stretching and jogging and individual drills, and very little, actually no one-on-ones of any point yet that we've seen. So maybe we'll get to see a little bit more on Thursday, and then see if we can get some answers about stuff from Ryan Day. Certainly won't be able to get an answer probably about Jordan Hancock and just how injured he is. And I know some fans are worried about that, but he's been dressing. He's walking around. He's at practice, which is a lot better than not being at practice. So interested to see what else we learn from our view and how much has changed from the last time we saw things, which was last Friday. And so, this will be a week since we were last there, essentially. And has anybody moved up a depth chart? Has anybody moved down? Things like that, where you kind of get to download more information and then start doing that math you were talking about earlier, Mark.
Well, on that front, has Jim Knowles in any way kind of shown his hand in regards to how pleased he is with the defense catching up with the scheme and learning the scheme, or any players that he has been impressed with?
Yeah, he's been very impressed with how quickly they picked it up in the spring, and that has continued on now. He's spoken well of the defensive line, the linebackers, the safeties. His concern is cornerback depth, but he seems to be happy with how everybody's picking it up. In fact, he was asked, "Are you happy?" And he starts talking about, yeah, he's happy. Then he says, I don't want to be happy. Because if I'm happy, then I'll get satisfied. So I don't want to be happy. I'm going to keep pushing them. So I think he had to talk himself out of saying that he was happy. So he must be pleased, but he doesn't want to let you know it.